Hi, everyone. I'm Leela Sharon here, and I'm the Minister of Culture, Multiculturalism, and the Status of Women. And as you know, Erica Weeb, who is a two-time gold Olympian for wrestling, is an advocate and the ambassador for healthy living and sport at the Ministry of Culture, Multiculturalism, and the Status of Women. And we were talking a few weeks ago about healthy routines, and especially that was just at the beginning of the pandemic. And she had made it into the Olympics, and then found out that the Olympics had been canceled, and was trying to figure out sort of how to work from home and to exercise, and also to do her training with her students as well too. And so she launched the Healthy at Home challenge, and a Healthy at Home Alberta challenge. And from that, we've been able to speak to many, many wonderful folks around the province to talk about how they're staying healthy at home and sharing some motivational tips on activities, talking about mental health. And I have the huge pleasure today to have two players from the Edmonton Eskimos. Long snapper. Is that how we say it, Ryan? Long snapper?
That's correct. Well done.
Sure that was right. Ryan King and defensive lineman Jake Ceresna. And so Ryan, as you all know, is an Edmonton native. Actually, Ryan, I am too. I was born here. And was playing at the high school football level, right, at Bev Facey, before moving to junior football. Jake's from Connecticut originally, right? And also, I think, Jake, this is your second year playing with Eskimos, right?
Yes, correct. This is going to be my second year.
That's awesome. Jake's in his second year, and Ryan, before moving to junior football, was with the Edmonton Wildcats. And you're an 8-year veteran, my friend.
Yes, time flies when you're having fun. And I remember my first tunnel run all the way 8 years later now, so it's been a lot of fun. There's no question.
I feel the same way about politics. I don't know where it went. And Randy Ambrosi, the commissioner of the CFL, announced the season may begin in September. Fingers crossed. Hey, guys? And but the earliest, of course, the games will be played without fans, because fans sitting in the seats, we're super spreaders in those areas. So until we know for sure that we can keep our families safe, but my goodness, seeing you guys out there playing would just be absolutely amazing. It'd be so good for all of us to see that happen. But I'm interested right now to find out a little bit about how both of you are keeping during the pandemic, with the team, with your families, with your exercise, and how you're coping. And so, Ryan, do you mind if we start with you first, and then Jake will bring you into this conversation. And please feel free, we can have this conversation back and forth.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I appreciate you taking the time having us on the call. I think it's important in times like this that we can all collectively come together from a government perspective, from organizations, and from the community as well too. I've been obviously having some tough times, some good times during this pandemic. I think one of the biggest things that I've had to do is stop the actual norm that I've been doing. For the first couple of weeks, I chased what my routine was prior to the COVID-19 hitting. And I think it's important to just kind of take that time and spend time with your family, friends, people around you. Make sure everyone's safe. I think this is the most important. And when it comes to, the routines you've been doing, we all had to change our routines. We all had to go through adjustments together collectively. And I think that's what makes me so motivated to continue pushing through this, is that I know collectively all my fellow friends, families, and teammates are going through the same thing together. So I think when I can look at it from that perspective, I know, from an Edmontonian, I can look at it from a community aspect. I can look at it from an Albertan perspective, or even being a Canadian. And I think Canada and Alberta, and especially Edmonton, have done such a phenomenal job of battling this and showing our community come together. So I think that's been motivating for me, is seeing how well we have been dealing with this pandemic in our city. But I think as an overall, I think this time has been very valuable to me mentally, especially time to slow things down and sort through all the things that I've been putting to the side, and, get to all the things at the house that you never had time to. And I've been reading and writing and doing a whole bunch of stuff that I've never, generally been passionate about. So I think a lot of us have the opportunity to find some new hobbies, and, it's definitely a new way of staying busy at home.
Absolutely. I'm sure we have started so many projects over the last little while. It's hilarious. Any favorite project that you got into that you're so glad that you've been able to work on and complete?
Yeah, so this is going to sound weird, but I bought a house a couple years ago and it had a garden in the back, and I attempted it a couple years ago, and it just, with football season, I couldn't really keep up with it. And I've had the time to do it. So I've actually planted a full garden in our backyard. We're growing everything from carrots to lettuces to herbs to, zucchinis and cucumbers and tomatoes and everything. So it seems to be working so far, and fingers crossed that I can actually eat some vegetables out of my garden. So that's been pretty cool.
It's so good for your mental health, too, to be out in the dirt and the outside and just to see literally the fruits of your labor come forward. How about you, Jake? How are you keeping busy, my friend?
I'm doing good. I've just been working out a ton, to be honest.
Good for you. That's awesome.
So just focused on that. And my dad had an accident early in January where he actually shattered his leg. He fell at work, which is
he doing okay?
Yeah, he's doing great. And me being home during the quarantine has been great. I've been able to help him get around and whatever he needs help with, I've been helping him out with that. So it's been good. I'm glad I'm home for that. And, building off what Ryan said, I'm spending a lot more time at home with my family, my parents, getting to eat like a home cooked meal and kind of enjoy it and not be running around as much. So the quarantine hasn't been terrible in that sense. It's been nice to be home and be with them.
There's nothing better than home cooked meal. You and Ryan have to get together once he has all the vegetables and make some sauce or something. Yeah. So are you back in Connecticut or are you still in Alberta?
I'm in Connecticut right now, actually. We had that media event up in Edmonton on that March 13th date.
Yeah.
And I flew back home and then I kind of got caught here. So this is where I've been throughout the quarantine. And just been making the most of it.
Thank goodness you're home now, but you probably have a lot of friends that are on the team that may be separated from family on top of everything else. I'm sure that you're probably having discussions all the time, like how mentally, how do you cope with that being now you're away from your friends, from the team, from being able to work with them? Like mentally, how are you dealing with that?
There's kind of that you don't know what the future is going to hold. So I think mentally it's just important to just be where your feet are, is what an old coach told me, is just stay in the moment of where we are right now and not think. If you think too far in the future, you're going to get a lot of anxiety and nervousness and stuff like that. So just be where your feet are, focus on today. What do I have to do today to put myself in a good position for tomorrow? And fingers crossed that our season happens in September.
I'm going to use that statement, be where your feet are. That's really fantastic. And thank you for that, because there's as you both know, you're celebrities, these young people look up to you so much to find out not only like what you do on the field and how you work together, and the teamwork, but also at a very personal level, how you handle all of this. So it's really, I hope you understand how impactful these conversations are and the people who watch what you're saying. It really makes a huge difference. So thank you for that. And I know that right now you'd be in training camps, right? So are you, I know you were saying, Jake, that you're working out quite a bit. And are you still able to talk about plays and ideas like going forward, the future, like how things are working like as a team?
I think that's kind of got put on pause for right now. The kind of plays and technique aspect of football, just because, with social distancing, it's hard to kind of meet up with guys and work on your technique or go over plays. And there's no real certainty on when the season's going to start. I think that got put on pause for a little bit.
How about you, Ryan?
Well, I think it's been definitely an adjustment. There's no question. And I think, from my side, I'm an executive member for the CFLPA and I'm on the working committee with the CFL. So I've been daily conference calls, almost working with the CFL, return to play committees, working with health regulations and, government officials. And I think our biggest message to our membership is you got to take care of what's most important to you right now in this moment. And that's yourself and your family and the people around you. We want players to truly be taking care of the most important things right now. And that is themselves and their families, and to staying safe during this time. If we can lead by example now, I think we will be able to return to play properly and it won't get shut down in the future. So we want to be back, of course, but we also understand the safety of our citizens and our communities.
Well, that's great advice, because you think about it, of a lot of the stress is caused by not being able to do what you do normally. And you're talking about controlling what you can control. And it's actually fantastic advice, because if you consider you're a pro athlete, this is what you do, this is your life, your job, the things that you love, and being able to look at it from that perspective. We always have to look for the silver linings, and I think all of us have found a tremendous amount of reflection and all of that, and that's not a bad thing, actually. If you consider, you come back. You were talking earlier about mindfulness, and if you talk about the stresses that the pandemic has created, when you look at that from that perspective, it's a beautiful silver lining, actually, isn't it, Ryan, to look at it from that perspective?
And I think a lot of people that I've talked to, even if they've never explored the mental mindset avenue, I know, and I've reached out to them after, and they love it. And I think it gives them such extreme clarity, such confidence. Getting up in the morning and going through a gratitude journal, or putting a list of positive things you want to do, or who you want to reach out to today. And those little small successes in a time like this go a long way mentally, and especially during this time. I meditate a couple times a day, every day. I have my journals and all that kind of stuff. And that's all new to me during this time. And that's helped me out a tremendous amount. I've recommended it to a lot of people.
And how about for you, Jake? Because you're saying, you've really been focusing on your body and working out. Is that kind of like your go-to space where you can mentally just, decompress from all of the stresses of COVID?
Yeah. And something I picked up during quarantine is I've been doing a lot of yoga. I've been practicing that. And I feel like that's nice for me. It's, half an hour to an hour where I can just kind of get into a space where I can just kind of let my mind go and just relax, and it kind of just feels like all the stresses just kind of disappear there. And I always feel great right after that.
It's amazing, because under normal circumstances, we wouldn't be even having this conversation, would we? Like, if you think about even just accomplishing this and being able to reach out to an entire audience of people from a very different perspective, we may have never even had this conversation under normal circumstances, right? So one of the things I wanted to bring up too, and I'd love for you guys to chime in on this as well too. Commissioner Ambrosi and I have been working fairly diligently on sexual assault awareness and domestic violence. And I know the Eskimos do a very, very comprehensive program on this. I've actually attended the program and spent some time with you guys for doing this. Would you mind commenting a little bit about that? Because there's a lot of people who aren't safe at home. And I'd love to have your perspective on some of the work that you've been doing within your organization to help healthy relationships. And also because, like I said, a lot of young men look up to all of you. As I imagine there's been lots of opportunity to have those discussions over your time with self-reflection.
This goes very deep to me. I was one of the original partnerships with the ACWS. I have done multiple community engagements with men in group homes and children as well too. So I'm very passionate about this topic, and I think that's something that definitely came to me right off the bat that I was most concerned about. It was the women and the children in our communities, and it's our responsibility as men to lead by example, especially during these times, and to show that we will stand up and stand for all the rights of women and children. And so the numbers in Edmonton historically have always been in the wrong direction. And that's why we as the Edmonton Eskimos have always done a huge focus to reach out and to support all of the women's shelters and the kids shelters. And myself, I've been in a lot of these, and I do want to make sure the message goes across to, the communities across Canada, and especially in Edmonton, that even though you might see that the shelters are full or whatever the case is, just know that there's a tremendous amount of resources online. There's always someone to reach out to. There's always someone to talk to, especially during these times. And I think that, again, it's up to the leaders in our communities and the men in our communities to stand up and to be able to openly communicate and talk about this issue, and to make sure that we're not only taking care of our family, but we're also taking care of the people that are the most vulnerable in our communities. And unfortunately, during these times, it is a lot of times women that are involved in domestic abuse situations, and children that are in very tough situations as well. So it's great to see the charities and the organizations that I know, Edmonton being a community-based city, we do go above and beyond, but it is great to see the food drop-offs to the kids in the shelters, and a lot of the community programs that are still engaging in the kids to help them to get their food and to make them feel safe. Because before the pandemic started, school was a safe place for a lot of these kids. And even the work environment was a safe place for a lot of these women. So now that they've been forced to be at home that sometimes might be in an uncomfortable situation, it's important that they know that we as men are here for all women and children as well, and especially in those uncomfortable situations.
Half the battle, as you gentlemen know, is the stigma. And the ability to be able to reach out. The thing that we have found out in a lot of the data that we've received lately is that a lot of people who are in distress or being victimized will go to family and friends, but they don't necessarily engage with the process and use the availability of the services that are there. So we're doing a really hard push on services and availabilities and the partnerships with government and other grassroots organizations throughout the province. And of course, fundamentally, we have addictions, mental health, all of those. So, there's so many things that all of us can do, but really what I find the most meaningful, especially coming from you two gentlemen and the impact that you have on the world, is hearing your voices at that table. It is collectively going to be all of us together that shine this light, and we cannot allow it go under the carpet and into these dark corners anymore. We have to be really comfortable with being uncomfortable. I mean, we have a defensive player here, and if you think about the roles that you play on the field to protect each other, that's the role that we have to take out into the world to protect each other without any concern about what it looks like. You have to be able to be willing to do that. And I thank you both from the bottom of my heart for the courage that you have to put yourselves out there to have these discussions, because you will impact so many people. And I don't have enough words of gratitude to both of you for your willingness to do that. So before I leave you today, I just wanted to ask you quickly about your very favorite exercise. I had a chat with Mr. Giordano from the Calgary Flames a few years ago, and he told me I had to do burpees. So I took up that challenge and I promised that I would, and I am sadly very bad at burpees, but I will continue. And I was wondering if you could both maybe share one of your favorite exercises or a bit of routine, whether if you don't mind sharing that with us.
My favorite exercise right now would probably be a Bulgarian split squat, where your rear foot is elevated. It's a miserable exercise. It's almost as bad as the burpee, but not as bad.
You're gonna have to send me a video of how to do that.
No, I actually, because I knew this question was going to be asked, I posted a leg workout on my Instagram and a warm up that you can do for the Healthy at Home Challenge. All you need is 2 water jugs or 2 things of the same weight, and you can do the whole exercise, the whole workout. It's not easy, I'll tell you that. It's definitely challenging, but I broke it down so that anyone of any fitness level can do it. From if you're just getting into fitness or if you're a professional athlete, you can do this workout. So,
and tell us what the name of this lovely exercise is called again.
Bulgarian split squat.
That just sounds painful.
Yeah, it sounds worse. You'll be okay. Something I've been recommending to a lot of people. I think this is time where you don't have a lot of the availability to the gyms and all that kind of stuff. So again, you look at the old norm and you try to fight that, find weights and all this kind of stuff, and it can be challenging, stressful, and it can stop you from actually being active. So I've been trying to motivate people just in the sense of movement. So I try to tell everyone you want to move 3 times a day. So it's just like you're eating your food. So it's a normal routine. So you get up in the morning, first thing in the morning, you just want to be moving. If it's a 10-minute walk, if it's a bike ride, whatever it is, you got to get your blood flowing, get some rotations going in the afternoons. If you're at work or whatever the case is, get up, go walk up and down the stairs or whatever it is, just be moving. So I think it's easy to have all these great ideas and these workouts, but I think the core of all this is just to get people just moving. It'll create a happier, mental mindset at least, and especially for your body.
Amazing. Thank you, gentlemen. It's been such a pleasure sending you both deep love and gratitude, and hoping that you're staying safe. And I can't wait to see you all in person and hopefully see this season kick off in September.